All right, it's time once again to take a look at some of our national and international news for this Tuesday morning, depending primarily on sources outside of the United States, beginning actually from the Guardian newspaper out of the UK. Fiat Chrysler is possibly going to close their plants in Mexico if Trump enacts an import tax. That's according to the CEO. They're not talking about relocating their plants. They're talking about closing them. The Kremlin has reacted to the U.S. intelligence report on hacker attacks, calling it, quote, amateurishly emotional. Also, in another report from the BBC and also from TASS and also from Pravda, the foreign ministry there say that Russia is simply tired of the U.S. witch hunt over hacking. And Maria Zakharova, who is one of the ministry's spokeswoman, she went on Facebook and made you might call it an ironic comment about if, in fact, there are Russian hackers, the only thing that they really broke into probably were Obama's brain and the report on Russian hacking. Jared Kushner is set to be the top advisor for Donald Trump. If you don't know the name, it's actually his son-in-law. That's raising a number of questions, and Trump and his other advisors say, oh no, the laws about appointing relatives as government employees doesn't apply to White House positions. Russia's Northern Fleet is going to be keeping a presence in various parts of the world's oceans over 2017. The TASS news agency in Russia reporting that they're even going to be in the Mediterranean. So we're talking about an increased Russian naval presence, even as the United States has a decreased naval presence around the world. The Ministry of Health in Russia is planning to finalize an anti-tobacco campaign. It's going to be just as hard to smoke in public in Russia as it is in the United States. The FBI has arrested another VW employee in connection with the emissions cheating. I don't know if you know the background of that, but basically some agency got a grant to study emissions, and they went after why is it that other cars aren't testing as efficiently as Volkswagen. And what they found out is that Volkswagen had put in these kind of runarounds, a cheat, so to speak, that went around the emissions testing. So that during the testing itself, it came out looking flawless, clean, efficient. And it was a cheat. It was a lie. And so now they've actually arrested 2 people for this. The Dutch courts have blocked access to data that was gathered by independent journalists. Now, the journalists had gone to the Donbass region where that MH17 was shot down, and they gathered everything from fuselage and to bone fragment, actual physical evidence. And during the inspection into that, they ended up getting onto another story, and that is the insecurity in that region in general, in the Ukraine. And now the Dutch courts have blocked access to the actual data that they gathered. It's interesting to follow that. The Belarus border, that's part of what used to be the Soviet Union, it's actually a separate country now from Russia, is declaring a visa-free regime for 80-some countries, including the United States and the EU, where you can go there for up to 5 days without a visa. And astronomers have apparently found a little black hole, which apparently violates the laws of physics. The theory is that every big galaxy has a big black hole in the middle of it. Now they've found a little galaxy with what looks to be a little black hole in the middle of it. And I don't know if you remember the pictures when you were a kid of the giant sequoia and the redwood forest with the hole carved in the middle of it. People could actually drive their truck through that tree. It has fallen over. The pioneer cabin tree in California felled by the storms. Biggest storms that California and Nevada have seen in at least a decade. BBC is where I saw this story about this massive tree falling over. It was simply too much for the storms to take. And of course, even though it has had that tunnel through the middle of it for over 100 years, people are blaming the tunnel for it falling. And who knows, it may have lived to have been longer, but it was already over 1,000 years old. So I think that tree had a pretty good life. That's the national and international news. My commentary today focuses on meme wars and how ineffective I think it is to try to engage people on Facebook. You're not going to change their mind. You'll hear my point of view about that. And if you like what I'm doing, please consider becoming a sponsor, either directly by buying a subscription or through the Patreon experience, which is fantastic. Or you can do like what my new actual local sponsor has done, and that's Inland Petro Service. You can buy advertising as well. Hit me up with an email to find out more, steve@radiofreespeech.com, and tell all your friends. Make sure you share and like on YouTube and other social media. Once again, radiofreespeech.com.